undo people to laugh and to smile because life is too short. Have fun. Don't be hung up on stuff, especially a Trump supporter. Just laugh and smile at them. For them. Tao, help. Help anyone around you. Help people. Help your mom with your groceries. Help your friend. Help to shovel. Just help. And finally, do be of service to those around you. Share what you have, what you can, your wealth, your time, and ultimately, make the world a better place. That is the three precepts of undoubt do. So what I'm going to talk about here is Easter Island Ape and the timeline because it is kind of complicated and it's hard to wrap your head around. So I really want to lay it out really succinctly so you can get it and understand where you came from, which wasn't from some savanna. It was from something similar than a savanna, but I'll get to that. So around 30 million to 20 million years ago, there was this tectonic activity happening in the Indian Ocean, and it started to push Africa and split, Africa from Arabia, creating the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea, and it would continue to split for the next 20 to 10 million years. At the same time, there was these islands being pushed up, and back then, it wasn't the Horn of Africa, but the Socotra Peninsula, which was split away, right? And then what happened was over time, as water flowed in and water sea levels rose, it became an archipelago, right? And and this is 10 to 20 million years ago. And this is when the Isles of the Urobora, right, which were the proconsul hominids, who they were kind of like large meerkats, about 1.25 meters, weighing about 20 to 30 kilos, or really these big meerkats, and they were our prehistoric apes, but they loved the dragon blood tree. They would climb up into them and live up there and look around and guard them and eat the little fruit and poop the fruit around and spread the trees. And they lived in these trees, which are like 50 million years old. The ancestor was, right. There were these massive forests, and the proconsul hominids loved it. So at the same time, the Straits of Gibraltar, right, were being created as Africa is getting pushed into Spain by the same geographic movement. Around 9 to 7 million years ago, water is rising, creating the archipelago, right, creates all the islands around southeast, which is the Socotra Islands. They may have been kind of really close and connected, but they're being pushed away by this tectonic actions. And on Urobora, which the proconsul hominids had populated, right, and forced to kind of live in a more aquatic lifestyle, evolved into the Kadabba around 5.6, and they would be around till 5.2 million years ago, which coincidentally fits between these major aquatic events, and that's why this is why they're my favorite ones. Understand, around 7.9 million years ago is when the Mediterranean Sea was cut off, right? So before this, and for 2.6 million years, using evaporation, the Mediterranean basin actually basically gets emptied out, and there's just these kind of salt flats, and this is actually an image of it, but this could also well be an image from the Urobora Isles looking at Socotra, right? Some 5.4 million years ago. Understand, during this 2.6 million years, water levels would be reduced by 1,000 to 2,000 meters. And water levels all around the world would go down about 500 meters because it's geologic activity. Now, what did this do? It reconnected the archipelago with the Horn, and creating the Socotra Peninsula once again, and all of the islands would all have been connected. So everything would have been connected for this time frame. When exactly? But at least for 657,000 years, the Kadabba hominids expanded into these hundreds of kilometers of this new kind of savanna, these muddy, salty Socotra Flats that was created by MSC, right? Rich in easy to catch marine invertebrates. You know, I'm talking about crabs and all sorts of shellfish, mussels, and I grew up as an aquatic ape, as a 4 or 5 year old. I could feed myself on my beach. I knew where every crab was. I could reach into the ground and find myself, mussels or whatever, or oysters. I just knew where everything was. That was my world, right? From the age of 3 to the age of 9, or 8, I lived literally 50 feet from the beach, and I would spend most of my time in the water. So, and this is where they would, they would evolve and spend their days wading in seawater, and then they would, and shifting their feet through the muddy, silty sand in search of edibles, and fleeing. Where would they flee? There would be nowhere to flee. Maybe trees wouldn't pop up here, too salty, right? Nothing would grow in here. So the only way for them to flee would be into the water. Okay, to when a predator would, and predators would come in because it'd be nice to catch, but it'd be nasty, salty. It'd just be kind of like really weird for land predators to come in here. They just wouldn't like it, right? Unless they were really desperate. And there's plenty of stuff for them to eat. So here is a video that I'm going to talk through. I'm going to mute it, and I'm going to talk through it and play it. So this is around 30 million years, 30 to 20 million years right now. You can see the Mediterranean was just part of the Atlantic. That's Africa. This is Africa right here. On the left here is the Gibraltar Straits of Gibraltar. You can see Italy, which isn't even formed there yet. You see Greece there on the right. You see France directly ahead, in this area right here. So what happened was, as these Indian Ocean tectonics happen, it forces the Africa up. Now that's one theory. Another theory is actually there was some volcanic action under here, and it pushed up, right? It pushed up the mantle, right? And that mantle created, pushed up the land and basically created the area. I think more so it was pushed together, right, creating it, and which you could have seen in the earlier one. And then over the next 2.6 million years, all of this starts to evaporate, okay? And it empties all the way out pretty much. And there's these flats. You can see these flats. They kind of cut out pretty quick. And it slowly emptied out, and it would let these really, really kind of muddy flats. And this is near Sicily. And this was a mass event that they said unfolded within like 2-3 weeks, right? Or months or years or something, right? Really short time. All that back then is really quick. And this becomes a 5 millimeter a gorge across, and this is 1.5 kilometers deep, and this is like 2.5 cubic kilometers of water comes pouring down, creating this massive tsunami, right? That then and it only has one place to go, right? And here it is, kind of recreated. Opens up the water. This basin fills up. It fills up, and finally it just kind of breaks through. Finds a little low ground. It breaks through, and it starts to come over. And then more comes, and more comes, and more comes. Right, like a 1.5 kilo high waterfall until it breaks. Okay, and imagine the amount of water gets pouring into all that. That needs to be calculated by some physicists. But what they don't show is it slamming into this area here. It would have slammed into Palestine, and if you look here, you can actually see where it slammed in here and it came down here. It would have also slammed in here, and if you look, and it would have gone, and maybe all the silt that it picked up is what took to probably, I don't know how far, could it have taken as far as the fertile valley, right? This is how the fertile valley became fertile, is because of all of this beautiful silt at the bottom of the Mediterranean. That was what was carried from the ocean. And also water would have come flowing down here, the Red Sea. They would have all been open over time. It would have closed back up. So it would have come out here, creating the Dead Sea. That's the Dead Sea right there, all right here and out here. And all of this would have been slamming into the into Socotra, right? And actually, I could put an image in here. Actually, I will do that. Not right now. So this would end. This event ended the bonanza, right? And that was a 5.33. And it also what it does, it would split the Kadabba into two groups. You'd have the African group, and then you'd have the Urobora group. And the African group ended up going back to Africa and evolving into the great apes, whereas oh, I don't have that stupid notification down there. And then the other group ended up being and ended up staying on the Urobora Isles, right, and evolving. I think, and you said, well, what happened to the ones on the Socotra Islands? Well, they could see, it was too easy. They could get off, right? And I think that they would have moved or moved off there. Now the good news is, like, hey, maybe they are there, and maybe with all of the development on Socotra, the UAD and the Emirates, are all putting lots of money and turning Socotra into the next friggin', South Florida, which is unfortunate. But the nice side of that is maybe they'll dig up the bones, dig up some evidence that will prove that the hominids were there. Earlier hominids were there. There are already some very old hominids found there. There hasn't been a lot of, I mean, it hasn't been a lot of work and research and digs there. But who knows? If we're lucky enough, maybe the missing evidence of that missing key, right? Who is the ancestor, or will be found there. The other interesting thing that happened here, which matches the geologic record, is the stands. There are literally there's 4 stands, and stands is moments when the water level dropped, and this is perfect because it's like this is what gave us the exit, right? When the water level dropped, the Homo habilis was able to leave, right? And then that was from 1.92 million years. Then again, when it dropped again from 1.1, 1.2, the the Homo erectus, the first wave of Homo erectus left. And maybe there is some paleoanthropologists which is really confused by some evolution stuff, but the idea of 2 waves of Homo erectus kind of answers that question. So I don't know if there's but some paleontologists studying Homo erectus may be maybe like, this makes sense of this thing that I've noticed, right, that doesn't fit in the fossil record. And then 800 to 900,000 years ago, the second wave came, and then finally we would come some 130,000 years ago. Let's say it went down 100 meters, and let's say it took that long for the water to go down. Finally got low enough for us to exit. We were masters at aquatic living and survival. We would go on, and we'd go on to pretty much colonize every island from New Zealand to Easter Island. I hope you enjoyed the talk. I'm looking for feedback. If you know people who's interested in anthropology, share this video. I've shared it. Getting a hold of these guys, I know what it feels like to be Elaine Morgan. Here's that actually image I want to add to it. I've put it out to these guys. Hopefully some of these will respond to it. Take a look at it. My buddy here likes it, right? These are all my likes. And tell me what you think. And I'll do. Let me give you a quick chant as we end this. Sending you the dew from the heartland of Zen, where I live in Japan. I'm Andadu. Thanks for listening. Please share, please like, and tell me what you think.